Okay, we're back. Bill Kennedy with the Global Interdependence Center. We're here at Camp Kotok 2024, and I'm here with Jung Kim, who's
Yeah.
joining us from the Boston area. Is
No,
that right?
Chicago.
Chicago,
Yeah.
even better,
Yeah.
even better. Well, welcome to Maine.
Oh my goodness.
Very happy to have you here. First timer at Camp Kotok?
First timer at Camp Kotak.
Well,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about what got you here.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of like serendipity, right? So, friend of ours, good friend to Thomas Heller, is Ed Jacobs, who runs the family office for Life is Good.
Okay.
And then we've been friends and we've been investing in different causes and things. And then he talked about this, like, hey, I got an invitation to something like this. And I go, that's a great idea. Why don't you go? And he was like, oh, it didn't work out and whatnot. But through that, I didn't know it was a different endeavor, but it was like there was an opportunity to go to Cuba.
Hmm.
And I go, that sounds so interesting, and it will have a different perspective. So I met David and then some of the teams. So I was a freshman in Cuba in terms of that trip, and really opened my eyes. And I go, wow. And then the next thing is Jill was on top of me to go, hey, you know what? This camp is coming up. You got to sign up. I'm like, okay, okay. And they go, well, today's the deadline. So hey, half course and half like sign me up type of thing. So I signed up and I'm here.
And here we are.
Yes.
Well, you got to be careful attending any GIC event, and this was our third time to go to Cuba in
Yeah.
January,
Yeah.
the trip that you referenced. And anytime Jill or Sandra are there, watch out because you're going to get an invitation to some other activities. Really great to
Yeah.
have you here.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and what you're working on.
Right. Okay. So people ask me that, and I had answers from like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I must keep on to, it's the conversations. I'm trained as a physician, and then immediately it's like, if you're to your pastor, it's like, oh, I'm a pastor. That was kind of like just the conversation. So same way, if you say I'm trained as a physician, and they'll go, what specialty? So it kind of becomes a little bit of different trajectory. So I've learned from somebody to say I'm a recovering physician. So for the past probably 25 years. So I went to med school, and which was an incredible endeavor. I practiced outpatient medicine type of thing for few years. But I got into very serendipity and luck and fortune is to somebody tapped me to join a subsidiary of Anthem,
Mm.
and there I was like in the kind of epicenter of developing specialty benefit management. So our team was initially 8. I think we got into closer to 200, and I saw the evolution of that space. It's a very very complex space, very nuanced, very delicate. A lot of regulations, moving parts, a lot of technology, a lot of personalities, a lot of legacy, all those things. So I kind of was part of the operations and then technical innovation type of space within Anthem for 15 years, and I saw an opportunity to get out and do startups. So I go, hey, I'm a startup guy. So and then that's the kind of the journey that some of the friends at Thomas and at Jacobs, we got together to do that. So we don't have a formulation of how we do it, but we look for scalable solutions that solves real world problems and that are run by good people and that we feel like it's going to change the world. That's kind of like elevator speech, I guess.
But a worthy cause
Yeah,
and, and
hopefully,
and a
right?
great way to use
Right, right.
your skill and your background. So it's venture capital. Is that fair to
No, not at
say?
all. It's just an
Okay.
individual earlier rounds before institutions. Sometimes we do SPVs.
Okay.
So it's some family offices, just individuals writing checks and then go, hey, this is really interesting. And we got some good ideas. It's a real world application. And it's been a lot of fun.
So as you're going into an investment, sounds like direct investment,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You're thinking about product. You're thinking about the market opportunity. You're thinking about the people. How do you rank those when you're making an investment decision?
Actually, I had a metrics that does all the scoring and whatnot, and and it's really about the problem itself,
Hmm.
and then how they approach it, how they're innovative, how they're bringing it to the market, and then who runs it. I think that all come into play for some things, one part is much more important. You know, some sectors of industry is extremely boring,
Mm.
or it could be very, very fragmented, but they have a unique approach that kind of like would, you know, take advantage of that, or it would change the lives of people, how you engage, or tilt the balance of influence the other way. That's innovative, right? And it could potentially be a platform to, like, say, educate, or we can change other things around it. Then it's juicy. And if it's run by different people, like the people that you want to be around, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And
But
it's a very simple thing, but as individuals, we can make the decisions. And what I see other people that kind of manage other things is that they have to protect where they are. So institutions would have a hard time actually delving into the level that we can.
mm,
So I kind of sometimes ride on the coattail of others that can curate, right? Because I'm an individual, I don't have all the exposures. But different family offices will hear different things, and it may not be a match. But then you kind of glean from that, and then go, okay, well, you know, somebody's always faster, smarter, and stronger than you are. And then you kind of eat the humble pie and then go, okay, let's look at this and go, is that something that's unique that we can really delve deeper into
mm.
and create those opportunities? And that's what we do.
So right now, is there a passion project that you're working on? So really trying to change the world. Is there something specific that you're really interested in?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. There's one project. It's somewhat of a brainchild of this guy named. Well, people know it, and I didn't know actually. Uh, uh, Tim Berners-Lee,
Okay.
and he's knighted, and he's an Oxford data scientist guy who worked for CERN, and he wrote this little application that we know now as a www. And we know where the World Wide Web is, but at the same time, he had a thought. He's a very, very brilliant guy. He had a thought about kind of doing that more extensively with data. And it's really data around entities. Obviously, where we are, it's a lot of data siloed through big enterprises. And it's incredible for scalability, but it actually makes people a little vulnerable.
Hmm.
And I got pulled into because I come from a physician space and also a healthcare space, which is very, very big and complex and somewhat vulnerable to individuals. And it's really about, like, building data around people to or build data around people or entities. It kind of level sets and democratizes data, but also ensures some privacy in its own. So that's kind of the passion product. So Tim Berners-Lee actually developed this. If I build it, people will come, which is a better land. But what he hasn't figured it out is really the go-to-market strategy. And the founders, one of the founders of the company, is actually co-author of that standard.
Hmm.
But they actually had a better go-to-market strategy of, hey, we're gonna put the bridges to this with the current systems where they don't have to do a transplant. We can kind of like enable that transition with or without anybody knowing about it. So it's a translation service. So that's kind of the passion product, and it kind of like you know um, minimizes the need for the APIs and all the connectivity of systems, because the systems that are kind of homegrown or legacy can interoperate through the data.
Hmm.
So it's a brilliant way, efficient way, um, and non-disruptive way to create incredible capabilities. And the kind of one of the most complex places, healthcare, very vulnerable, very dynamic, very resource heavy. And we're actually in the stone ages about that.
Hmm.
And can we do that? And then we are getting a lot of interest from major farmers in the world for the clinical trials aspect of it, playing with the real world data, and also kind of what's out there. So, large institutions within the United States are like, you know what, we got to be enabled to do this. Healthcare develops a lot of data, but they cannot use it to, even for their own selfish reasons, or the people.
Hmm.
And people for themselves, they are not in control of their own data. it's kind of siloed. And the physician for themselves, they have to dig into it. It's not truly insightful data, but we have a lot of data. So
Okay.
can we do that? And it's a very, that's my passion product. Is there a capability to integrate it without disturbing anything, enabling that? So that's all.
So it's this great interconnection between data and technology and
Technology.
healthcare, and it all comes together to try to move the needle on
Yes. Right,
innovation.
right.
And it does seem like maybe healthcare has a ways to go on the innovation front.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not without their effort or trying. It's just that the way they're looking at it is very, very different.
Hmm.
And one thing that you don't want to do with a CTO or CIO is like, you guys are doing all wrong, because that's going to be the shortest conversation. So, how do you enable what that is without actually, we almost like, we overlay and not disrupt, but we enable kind of thing. So.
Excellent. Excellent. So, Camp Kotak, what's been the best thing that you've experienced? What's the best conversation you've had? Just,
Oh my
15
God, so
seconds.
it's amazing thing because I'm not necessarily economist, but it's a kind of like a hobbyist, so to speak. And then I could see the economists here that could argue probably both sides of the things, and then they intentionally develop caricatures to really elicit the discussion, and it's fascinating. And it's a lot of the macro stuff which you don't get into a lot of conversations about, and so that has been delightful. I've been like kind of like soaking it in. The
Well,
public process for a long time too.
equally, we've been soaking in your knowledge and what you've been sharing with us. So
It's a little different.
we're really glad you're here.
Right.
So, Jung Kim, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Nice to
Yeah,
meet you,
good,
Bill, and
good to
then
see you.
thank you.